But it was really born out of a desire that I and Jonathan and John had for people to connect in a social environment that's more relaxed, that there's no heavy pressure or sales, because the sponsors very kindly pay for the food and the drinks. We leave the people who turn up, we leave them for the conversation by themselves.
So, Bob, let me just introduce you guys. So, for anyone who doesn't know, the living legend, this is Bob Qureshi, owner, managing director, iView, Prevision, your partner, or how
I think, you know what,
Prevision?
they said I can be a director and a shareholder of Prevision, the Telephone Research Centre, the premier place in Milton Keynes. Yeah.
Plug.
I've got to plug them, yeah.
And what else is it? What else have we got on the roster before we talk about Research Club? Oh, of course, co-founder.
Co-founder,
Research.
Colour of Research.
Along with myself.
Along with your good self. Literally, the Colour of Research is probably one of the most proudest things I've been involved with. These things don't happen very often, and when they do, you really have to take hold and think about how wonderful they were. And I think Colour of Research is probably one of my most proudest achievements in terms of career, helping others to get into our industry and doing well within it.
Well, you know, we've had this conversation millions of times, but I'll say it again. I've said it before, I'll say it again. It wouldn't have happened without you. You sort of planted the seed, you know, the idea of, hey, have you thought about, you know? So, hats off.
Oh, thank you so much, Theo. The thing is this, that often these seeds lie dormant for a long time, but you never have the opportunity to say, what is going to help me fertilize this seed and make it sprout? And I'm going to have to throw that compliment back at you, because chatting with you and us going to that event that we went to, I think it was the MRS Awards dinner, and looking around and saying, people of colour, there's less than a handful, and there's rumour there's 1,000 people here, and these are the most senior people in our industry. And between us and the rest of the team that's developed since then, it's been a great honour and privilege to be part of that.
Absolutely. No, it's the highlight of my career as well. And I think it's the one thing that is going to live on beyond any of us, you know. But we're here today to talk about Research Club.
Yes.
Okay? Because I think it's really important, actually, to talk about the impact that this has on everyone who attends in the industry. I mean, me personally, I know a lot of people in the industry. I would say half I met at Research Club, you know? And I want to, you know, go back in time a little bit and find out how this all happened. So tell me, you know, what was the catalyst? What was the aha moment? Why don't we do this? And what was happening before that? What was the industry like before that?
Well, we're probably going to have to go back in time to around 2007 to maybe 2008. And I'll try not to bore you with that, but one of the things I and a couple of my colleagues, the co-founders of the Research Club, Jonathan Wheeler and John Mackay, that we had in our minds was that when we would go to conferences and events, they're frightfully expensive. Anywhere, you know, between £600 to £1,000 at the time. And you could never afford for some of your younger members of staff to be involved with it. But one of the things we always realised that was great fun was the networking that might happen afterwards. Not much was actually laid on by the conference organisers in terms of what to do after 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock when an event finished. So we came up with this idea of why don't we ask one or two people to help sponsor an event at a local pub or a bar, but we could invite some of our junior members of staff who hadn't had the opportunity to be at the event. So they would come to that, and our first ever event had, I believe, 10 people come along to it. And this was probably 2008, can you believe? 10 people came along, and we thought, oh, that's not very good. And then we understood the reason why. There were no free drinks. So here's the funny thing. So the next one that we did, we resolved that issue and we managed to get Sample Answers, a wonderful organisation, and they said they would put £500 behind the bar.
Okay.
We had more than 70 people turn up knowing there were going to be free drinks.
All we need is an incentive.
But the problem we had at the time when we started that, we didn't know who was coming.
Yeah.
We didn't know who had been, so we couldn't budget, we couldn't plan or any of that. But it was really born out of a desire that I and Jonathan and John had for people to connect in a social environment that's more relaxed, that there's no heavy pressure or sales, because the sponsors very kindly pay for the food and the drinks. We leave the people who turn up, we leave them for the conversation by themselves, and that naturally happens.
Yeah.
So when we look at those days, back around 10, 12 years ago, that's how it first started.
I get it though, and that's because I've been to, Quirks and what was the one that was in Germany, research and results and all of this stuff. And you're right, like you're going around booth to booth.
Yeah.
It's a very different environment. You're selling, or you're being sold to. It's business, and yeah, you might have 10 minutes. Oh, ha ha ha, he, but it's work.
Yeah.
Whereas, at least in my experience, people like to do business with people. And if you can then create that environment for people to be people, which is what you guys have done.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've made more connections having a few drinks at the bar with these people than I have saying, oh, hey, this is what I do. Yeah. But my question is, surely someone thought of that before, and why had that not been done before?
Well, I think it's about word of mouth, know who's coming, what the expectation is. And it's often very good when there's no expectation. There's no real dress code. Come as you are, come from work, come from home. You're welcome. He says, having properly dappered up to set the benchmark. I know I set a very low benchmark, and I want to make sure others can follow that.
I'm just constantly trying to compete with you.
Literally.
My whole life's dream is to compete.
I really think this conversation ought to be about sartorial elegance, about some fashion shoot somewhere, really, rather than to do with market research and networking events. The important thing is this, from what we did from those days. We talk about, okay, come and have a drink, but you don't have to drink. The alcohol is maybe part of it, but it doesn't have to happen. We want everyone to feel welcome and part of it. But get an opportunity to meet with people that you might not normally meet through the course of your normal work. So if you're in an office somewhere and you're working for a larger company or a smaller company, you're somewhat restricted to what you do in that organization or the events that you might go to. Coming to a research club allows you to meet with people that work in our industry, your industry, that you might not normally come across, and get to learn about other opportunities and avenues there might be for you in the future. Most importantly for me, it allowed me to see other aspects of our industry that I didn't know much about. I didn't know much about research tech. I've been a quali most of my life, and I've been into standardized, normal, some might say boring, the traditional market research platform. But I learned so much about panels, and I learned so much about the energy that's put into field recruitment and how hard it is. But you get to learn these things, which you can't really anywhere else. You can also have the opportunity to maybe come across people that from time to time are end clients too, and listen to them too. I wanted to touch on that because,
even for this event, I've asked people, hey, you're going to be going? They're more my clients, right? And it's like, that's more for ops people because, you're going to have more opportunities as someone in ops, but someone like me in research side, there's no one going to be there that is going to be like beneficial. There's not enough end clients and da-da-da-da-da. Is there a plan, or have you noticed that first of all?
Well,
and is there a plan to bridge that?
That's a great question, and yes, we have noticed it. We've noticed that for the last 10 years. We call it the Holy Grail. It's how do you get the buyer of market research turning up to the events? Because it's the standard food chain. If you get the person right at the very top who's signing the checks, he or she, if they turn up, then it means everybody else down the food chain will come along. We often find that some of the events that we do at some of the bigger conferences, such as Quirks in the US or at Chicago, and even in London, those end clients are actually there. One of the things you'll notice, it's a person who's got their name but no company on it. And that's one of the things that I would.
I understand
I'm
that.
talking to the camera here. I would recommend you see somebody with just their name on, go and approach them. The chances are they're from an end client. So if you come to any of our
Makes
events
sense.
and you just see a name but no company,
Makes
the
sense.
chances are, I'm not going in any particular order. They might work for Sony, they might work for Unilever, they might work for McDonald's, they might work for some of these larger blue chip organizations, but all you see is a name. We actually do have a client here tonight from John Lewis. And I know of 4 other clients that are here tonight, but you'll notice that all it'll say is their name, but no company. But
Thanks
yes,
for the
there
heads up.
is a route. One of the ways I think that we are working on is if we can have, and we have talked about it for a while, is have a special speaker coming in. That kind of special speaker who has an experience to share about industry draws in other kinds of people. So that's something that we're working on to see how can we actually add a little bit of knowledge around the social aspects of what we do.
But no, that makes 100% sense. I didn't think about it like that, but if you think about it, if they had the name tag saying who they are, they would be flocked. They would be literally surrounded at all times, and who wants that kind of, when they're trying to relax? So
Absolutely.
that makes a lot of sense.
That makes a lot of
actually.
sense. The other thing I want to say is that just fast tracking from 2008-9, in 2011, we managed to do, and it sounds crazy right when I look back at it now, 29 events in 1 year. And we went to Singapore, Hong Kong, Melbourne, Sydney. We went to 5 cities across India. Such was the demand to do all of these events. And one of the things we realized from those events is that people want to network.
Yeah.
And the Research Club's position is very clear. And that is to allow people to become together in a relaxed environment, but it doesn't compete with anybody else. So any conference event, any high intellectual paper giving event, we are actually adjunct to them. So one of the events that we did, the largest one was probably, there's 2 really, Research and Results, well over 450 people attended in Munich.
Yeah.
And
I think I was at that
ESMA,
one.
you was at that one.
Yeah.
And the ESMA event that we did in Amsterdam, which we called the Revive event, which started at 11 p.m. and finished at 4 a.m. It had almost 500 people attend that. And if you go to YouTube and you look up Research Club Revive, it's an amazing event.
That's a rave.
This is just for us. This is just for us. One of the sponsors that we had in Amsterdam decided it was the city for attracting other people, and their goodie bag included an aspirin for the morning after, one of these night things that you wear, and also 2 lots of condoms.
Oh my God.
And this was in Amsterdam. And the sponsor, they know who they are, but they put that in the goodie bag because it was Amsterdam.
I thought you were going down a different route. It's Amsterdam.
Can you believe that? It's Amsterdam. Can you believe that? They put it in there, yeah.
No comment.
No comment. But sponsors have a wonderful time. The great thing about the Research Club, which you do not get in any other event, as far as I'm aware, that's the big disclaimer. Sponsors of the Research Club get a full list with email addresses of everybody who attends, unless they've opted out. And you do not get that for any other conference or any other event.
I didn't know.
Because that's owned by the conference people.
Yeah.
That's their if you like, their valuable asset. Whereas we are a sharing organisation.
Yeah.
You come to a Research Club and you sponsor, you don't have to worry about, did I connect with everybody? Have I got their details on? Who was that person I spoke to earlier? You're going to, as a sponsor, get the full list of everybody that registered. Not everybody that just attended, but everybody that registered. And that's a huge way to... Absolutely. I think you need to get... Guinea pig need to be on there. Yeah. You'll have a full list, although you know half the people anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Doing okay. No, that is amazing. What I love about this is that it's opening up the industry, the wider industry, to more, let's call them junior people in the industry. It's what you touched on at the very beginning, you know?
Our partners at Qureshi, the MRS, there's a reason and a great rationale to be at any of those events.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you really get certain values there. We're the social aspect side of it.
Yeah.
And it's for a few hours, and you get to let your hair down, you get to relax. It allows you to get the opportunity to meet with people in a more relaxed and friendly environment.
Sometimes too relaxed.
Yeah, I can be. Yeah, that can happen. Especially when the music starts, yes.
Funky question.
Yes.
say no names.
Yes.
But what are some of the funkiest stories, the too relaxed stories over the years? the most overly relaxed stories over the years, and you can't talk about anything that I've done. That's
No, I mean that would be rude. I mean, literally. I mean, to find that one of the events that we had, it was at the hotel in Boca Raton in Florida. Can you believe this? Right? We did do one there with TMRE, and the guys that were at the research club the night before, I went to bed probably about 12:30, 1 a.m., which I thought was pretty good. There were a dozen people or so that turned up for breakfast still wearing the clothes that they were wearing the night before. They'd actually gone out into town, partied all night, and turned back up for breakfast at 7 a.m., still wearing the same clothes from the night before. And everybody said, where have these guys been? What have they been up to? I mean, that's just one example of a story. But I think the first rule of Research Club is there is no research. You do not talk about Research Club. So let me reiterate that. The first rule about Research Club, we don't talk about what happens at Research Club.
You know what? It was a trick question, and you passed the test.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you, Theo.
What are the plans for the future?
I might give too much away, so I've got to be really careful here. One of the things we want to do is to broaden out our regionality of events. So we've generally been going to the very large cities, Frankfurt, Hamburg, London largely, but we have started to move out to regional areas. Yeah. We want to go to some of the smaller cities and bring those people on board. So we have tried to go to Leeds, to Manchester in the UK, Birmingham, but we want to go to other cities too. Yeah. We did one in Portland, Oregon, for example, many years ago. Yeah. We want to do more of that in the US. Now the world is opening up a little bit. We also want to explore about how can we get people coming in earlier. What can we do to come in for 4 o'clock, but have a speaker come in that can really resonate? My biggest goal is to find a way to get young people to come. So one of the things we want to do, and we have this tonight actually, we have half a dozen people who are under the age of 30 who've just started out in research, and they come for free. We want to help subsidise those people whose companies may not pay for it, or for them personally, £30 or £40 is a bit of an ask. Yeah. But if they can come for free, we want to try and do that, encourage young people. Cool. And that's the future of our industry. There are probably many other things we could be doing, and I think the people with the answers for them are our members. The Research Club has 10,000 members worldwide. The actual database holds around 12,000 names, but I'm sure some of those are a little bit out of date. So I always work in about 10,000 members worldwide. Between them, we're always listening. Yeah. Any thoughts, any ideas, what we can do, how can we do it differently? I mean, there is that adage which says that if it's not broken, don't try and fix it. Yeah. The problem is that you can leave it for so long that it becomes a little bit broke. Yeah. So we have to invigorate, invent, find ways of essentially another route or a different route to keep growing.
I love the idea about, under a certain age comes for free. Yeah. But, it's so I had been working in the industry for like 4 or 5 years before I even knew. Yeah. And before I even heard of Research Club. And so I think there's a disconnect somewhere. I mean, maybe it's different. The fieldwork agency that I was working with were very much a bubble, an island. Yeah. But maybe there's some sort of disconnect between how we're communicating that this thing is available. Yeah. So that's something to look into.
We definitely are the candy, and the problem is that not everyone's had a chance to taste the candy. But once you have, you won't ever want to miss it out on it. You'll always want to be here, and we will do our very best to keep promoting it. And I think the way to take that forward is to partner up with the industry bodies. We're working really well with the Market Research Society. We're working exceptionally well with the Quirks, IIEX, Merlin, Green Book, all of these organisations that run events. We constantly help promote them and then promote ourselves. We really want to work even more closely with ESMAR. We're talking to them at the moment to try and be in Toronto with them. That's our next goal. Well, that would be wonderful.
Love Toronto. Yeah. So nice.
So you have to get a flight and come out there. But you have to come to New York. You must come to New York.
I'll work it out. When is New York?
July. Summer in New York. It's going to be great.
I'll do my best. I had a question and it's just gone off the tip of my tongue.
That's all right. You keep thinking. Let me do a shout out while we're doing that.
Yes,
the Research Club is owned by three middle-aged blokes that have been in research for about 35 years, but the powerhouse and engine that drives our business forward is Tara Mackay. And it would be a miss of me not to mention her name.
Yeah.
She is literally the engine room.
Yeah.
From having joined us 10 years ago, as a young 20-year-old, and is now pretty much running the whole show everywhere.
Yeah.
And we're really grateful that she's been part of our organisation.
Tara's
And it's the
amazing.
future. She's the future of everything that we do.
Tara is amazing.
Yes.
Like, literally, there's been times when I've had to last minute, can
Yeah.
I get another ticket? Or, so-and-so's not need to chop and change, and she's on it within, and
Absolutely.
whenever you see her, just smiles non-stop. Is there any plans to grow the team?
Well, we've thought about it, actually hired people in the past, but the nature and style of our business and what we do, and the force that is Tara Mackay, literally one person, she's a whirlwind, literally. I mean, if there isn't a hurricane named after her, I'm not surprised. She literally runs a whole show on her own.
Yeah.
I mean, she will tell us what she wants, and we will do whatever she wants.
No. It's amazing. It's an amazing operation. It's an amazing cause, like, to bring everyone together like that. And it's done so much for so many people, so much impact. So thank you for putting it together, for me, for the next generation of researchers and all of that. Like, literally, you've given us a sandbox to play in, an environment to actually bring ourselves together that wasn't there before. So
hats off to you too. Thank you for letting me be part of this video podcast. I appreciate it.
Don't say that too late tonight.
No, I'm going to be gone by 10 a.m.
On the dot. I'll be watching. Well,
Thank you very much. You're welcome.